A report by children's charity UNICEF has revealed that British parents are not spending enough quality time with their children. Instead, mums and dads try to palm off their little ones with toys and gifts to keep them busy, and also try and ease the guilt of spending so much time at work. Many British parents complained that after spending long hours, they were simply too tired to play with or even talk to their children. But is there any excuse for using material goods, material items, to keep your kids happy?
Yes. Yeah. I've done it, very much so. When my daughter was very small, I was gigging a lot. So I was often at motorway service stations at about 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, what can I buy her? What can I buy a toddler? You know, a nice road map of the country.
Cheese and onion slice.
Yeah. Yeah, mustn't do names. Anyway, there are lots of other pastry goods you can buy, etc. And she didn't know me very well. She used to call me that present lady. She'd watched television. I remember once, and she looked at Barbara Windsor on the telly and she went, Mummy. She thought I was... And then Sue Pollard, Mummy, she had got...
Didn't you think before you got pregnant of, like, what the end result would be? You'd have this thing in your house that you'd have to...
Thing in your house?
I thought I might be able to train her to be like a very small waitress.
Oh, like you, mini-me.
Let's play a game where you bring me a glass of Chardonnay.
They're only fun when they start getting useful, really. I mean, Finley's nearly 10, so he started sending him to the shops with the paper. It's brilliant.
So, what are you like? I mean, I haven't had kids, but I've had stepkids, and I can see they are really, really demanding. But then I think kids go so quickly from being that little tadpole-y thing that plops out to, you know, it's relatively easy to look
Janet,
after.
they're a bit bigger than tadpoles on
Yeah.
All right, well, when they come out, they're all wrapped up and they don't move around a lot. But then when they get to the running around stage, nightmare. I mean, I had stepkids, they would arrive, you'd have to keep them entertained. Luckily, one was mad about trains, so we used to just put on a DVD of the London to Brighton Express that we got from the National Railway Museum, and that would keep him occupied for an hour and a half. But I feel sorry for parents, but at the same time, I do think a lot of people today have kids and they don't realise what having a child entails. And I don't want to come across as, you know, preachy or moral about this, but having a child means you have to put stuff out and entertain them yourself. I mean, I was lucky. My parents kind of were competitive card players, so my sister and I were forced to play cards every Sunday, whether we wanted to or not, for hours on end. And sometimes I think they only had 2 children, so they had a 4 at cards. Or is that too cruel?
I mean, I must admit, you know, I really think that parents would be lying if they didn't say that they use things like TV and DVDs and games and that sort of stuff as a sort of electronic babysitter, because we all have done it at some point or another. And I seriously think that, well, hopefully my mum and dad aren't watching. I wouldn't ever be able to have sex if there wasn't Peppa Pig. Because you get at least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You can go, fancy a little bit of Peppa Pig on.
Yes, work your way up to the box set. Hours. It's really what you were talking about that. I liked it when kids didn't move, like you put them somewhere and you could go out the room and they were still there. There's that momentous moment in your life, isn't there, when you turn round and you put them in a place and you always hear the noise from the same room in the house and suddenly you hear a noise from another place. And they've moved. For the first time, they've actually got out of a cot. And you go, and they're there at the top of the stairs, and they're like giant kids. It's like they're going to take over the world. And from that moment on...
You're meant to entertain
You're meant to entertain them, and it's difficult.
It's hard work.
I think gadgets are good, like, in cars, for example. You know, if you've got a long journey and you've got, like, a DVD or something like that, if you can afford to do that sort of stuff, that's quite useful. Because I Spy is really
should be bored as well. No, they should be taught to be bored. Children need more boredom in their life. They really do.
No doubt.
Senseless as a child.
I want to play I Spy, but no one wants to play it with me. I'll be in the car and we'll be like 2 hours into I Spy and I'll be going, I spy with my little eye, something beginning with R.
But...
Nothing for 2 hours. And they've all stopped playing, but they've not told me.
Now, there's so much pressure on parents to buy toys because there's so much TV advertising, and in other countries they've banned advertising, like in Sweden, for example.
Yeah.
They do not advertise toys or anything to the under-12s, and I think that would be quite a good thing to adopt here, because there's no doubt kids want stuff they see on the telly, and the pressure on parents around Christmas time must be phenomenal.
But you can say no.
You can say no, but the alternative is then you have to play with them yourself. You know, and then children want to do something. You know that thing when you're absolutely exhausted because you've been working really hard, you get home and your child wants to build a den, which involves taking down a set of curtains and all that kind of thing. And you think, yeah, I know it'd be really good fun, but I'm exhausted.
I know, and it's a shame when you left the front door open and everything and they're still there when you get back. You're like, oh, dear.
No, do you know what I used to play when Finley was going through that stage was let's play hide and seek. And so I just get into bed, covers over. It took him ages to find me. And then it became a game of how long it would take for him to pretend to find that I was still in bed. He'd have to go and pretend to look all around that. Brilliant! He used to get at least half an hour kicked. Anyway, thank you to those of you who've been getting in touch with us. I've got one from Nicola here. It says, I worked heavily for the first 4 years of my daughter's life. I missed out on a lot and overcompensated by buying her a lot of things to make up for it. She doesn't say from petrol stations. I think she went to proper shops. She's older and I love the time I spend with her as I'm not working, but I've made a rod for my own back as she still expects the same material things. Is that what your daughter's like? She still expects little pies?
No, she's actually quite good, I have to say. And there are sometimes I do wish she was little again because I do miss playing with Lego. I did really enjoy making little towns out of Lego.
Bring it in, Jen. We'll have a game.
I like Meccano, but, you know, I love toys like that. But I do think that kids have too much stuff. I mean,
I think they need to actually know the value of it as well. I mean, it was awful because I remember going to a big toy store with Bo and she had money in her hand and I think it was like £6 or something and she gave the money to the lady, she bought her own toys and she said to the lady, I got this money by doing all the washing. She was only about 6. We used to make her separate the whites and the coloured so that we could give her like
I think that's a good idea.
And then you sent her up the chimney.
We've had a message in as well from Gemma who says, I'm a childminder. Oh, my goodness. So I spend 24 hours a day with my children, but a lot of my friends have no choice but to go out to work. I don't actually think there is a set amount of time that you should spend with your children as long as you show them love and support. And that's what I think, actually, because, you know, we all work and what have you, and I think that as long as when you're with them, you're enjoying their company and spending proper time with them, it's far better than to be with them all day and be, you know,
if you look
bored
back
rigid.
to our parents' generation, for example, we always say now we work such long hours. We don't work any longer hours than our parents' generation did, and yet they found time in the day to play with us. So I think that whinging now about, oh, I feel guilty, I haven't got the time, I'm too tired, there's not a lot of difference in the amount of time people work.
I think also nans and granddads are good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Get nans and granddads around.
Snakes ladders with your nana.
They love it. My mum plays Happy Families for hours with Bo.
When you know you're talking about playing I Spy, Steve made this game up to make it a bit more interesting. So, you know, you're doing the whole I Spy, blah, blah, blah. And the first he used to do it with Amy when they're driving on their own. And the first time I thought, what are they playing? It was I Spy with my little eye. I have to write this down. Right, there you go. I Spy with my little eye. Something beginning with BFHIAF. Like, what is that? And it's big fat horse in a field. Yeah, you can make it much more interesting. Yeah. Skinny lady in yellow hat. Brilliant.
How far were you travelling?
Oh, yeah, Scotland. Right.